The story of King Solomon is one of the most fascinating and complex in the Bible. Solomon, the son of David and Bathsheba, ascended to the throne of Israel during a time of peace and prosperity. From a young age, Solomon showed a deep love for God, following the teachings of his father, David. The Bible tells us that one night in Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon, with humility and wisdom, replied, "Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. But I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" The Lord was pleased with Solomon's request and granted him not only the wisdom he asked for, but also riches and honor like no other king ever had. This divine wisdom manifested in many ways, from his judicial decisions to the authorship of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon, works that continue to inspire generations today. However, Solomon's life was not without its challenges and failures. Today, we will explore the untold truth about King Solomon, from his moments of glory to his shortcomings and the lasting impact of his choices. Get ready for a journey that will reveal the wisdom, grandeur, and lessons of this remarkable king, whose legacy echoes through the ages. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring Bible stories. Let's uncover the secrets of King Solomon together. Solomon, though young, was chosen to succeed his father, David, on the throne of Israel. The transition of power was not simple. It involved internal conflicts and political challenges. Adonijah, Solomon's half-brother, attempted to usurp the throne, gaining support from some influential leaders. However, with the support of Nathan's prophecy and the wisdom of his mother, Bathsheba, Solomon was anointed king by David, solidifying his position as the leader of the 12 tribes of Israel. Early in his reign, Solomon demonstrated a profound devotion to God. In a grand gesture of faith and obedience, he went to Gibeon, where he offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar. It was that night, as Solomon slept, that the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon, recognizing his inexperience and the great responsibility of governing such a numerous people, replied, "Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. But I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" This response pleased God so much that he not only granted Solomon the wisdom he asked for, but also gave him wealth and honor. The Lord said, "Since you have asked for this, and not for long life or wealth for yourself, nor have asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administering justice, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. And if you walk in obedience to me and keep my decrees and commands as David your father did, I will give you a long life." With this promise, Solomon began his reign with God's blessing and favor. He was destined to be one of the wisest and richest kings the world has ever known. Divine wisdom quickly manifested itself. His first major test came when 2 women disputed the motherhood of a baby. Solomon suggested dividing the child in half, a proposal that immediately revealed the true mother through her sacrificial love. This judgment impressed all Israel, as they saw that God's wisdom was in him to administer justice. Solomon's reign, blessed by God, began with a demonstration of his devotion and wisdom. This start marked the beginning of a golden era, with divine promise guiding his steps. With God's blessing and divine wisdom, Solomon embarked on one of the greatest projects of his reign, the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem. This grand project was a dream of his father, David, which Solomon dedicated himself to realizing. The temple was not only a magnificent structure, but also the spiritual center of Israel, symbolizing God's presence among his people. The construction of the temple took 7 years to complete, using the finest materials available. Cedars from Lebanon, gold, silver, and precious stones were employed to adorn the house of the Lord. Solomon's temple was renowned for its beauty and splendor, with the Holy of Holies housing the Ark of the Covenant. During the dedication of the temple, Solomon offered sacrifices and prayed to the Lord, asking that his eyes always be open to that place, listening to the prayers made there. God responded to Solomon, confirming that he had sanctified the temple and that his eyes and heart would be there forever. Solomon's wisdom became legendary, attracting people from all over the world to hear his words and learn from his teachings. He wrote many of the Proverbs, offering practical and spiritual advice that still resonates today. Some of Solomon's pearls of wisdom include, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline." Proverbs 1 verse 7, "And trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. In addition to Proverbs, Solomon also wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, where he reflects on the meaning of life and the pursuit of true wisdom. In Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, he declares, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." And he concludes in Ecclesiastes 12 verse 13, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." Solomon's fame and wisdom reached the ears of the Queen of Sheba, who came from a distant land to meet him and test his wisdom. The queen brought a large entourage, laden with spices, gold, and precious stones. When she arrived in Jerusalem, she asked Solomon all the hard questions she had in mind. Solomon answered all her questions with clarity and depth, nothing being too difficult for him to explain. The Queen of Sheba was amazed by Solomon's wisdom, the grandeur of his palace, the food on his table, the organization of his officials, and the devotion in the Lord's temple. She said to the king, "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true, but I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth you have far exceeded the report I heard." She gave Solomon 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices, and precious stones. In return, Solomon gave the queen everything she desired and asked for, besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. Then she returned to her country with her retinue, carrying with her the memory of a king whose wisdom and wealth were unparalleled. During this golden era, Solomon's reign was marked by peace, prosperity, and profound respect for his wisdom and leadership. His ability to govern with justice and his commitment to God made his kingdom a model of success and divine blessing. Solomon wrote some of the most well-known books of the Bible, such as Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, and Proverbs, which are filled with wisdom. In these books, he wrote many wise sayings, quotes, songs, and proverbs that are so deep that we still explore them today. Examples of these pearls of wisdom are Proverbs chapter 5 verses 1 and 2. "My son, pay attention to my wisdom, turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge." Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 1 and 11. "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end." Despite all his wisdom and greatness, Solomon made mistakes that led to his decline. One of the most problematic aspects of his reign was his marriages to foreign women. Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, many of them from pagan nations such as the Moabites, Ammonites, Sidonians, and Hittites. These marital alliances, though politically strategic, brought severe spiritual consequences. The Lord had warned the Israelites against marrying these nations, as it would lead them to worship their gods. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happened to Solomon. As he grew older, his wives turned his heart towards other gods. Solomon was not faithful to the Lord as his father David had been. He followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites, and he built altars and shrines for these pagan deities on the hills around Jerusalem. On a hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable deity of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. He did the same for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and offered sacrifices to their gods. These actions not only directly contradicted God's commandments, but also negatively influenced the people of Israel, leading many to practice idolatry. The Lord's anger burned against Solomon because of this unfaithfulness. God had appeared to Solomon twice, specifically warning him not to follow other gods, but Solomon did not obey the Lord's commands. So the Lord said to Solomon, "Since this is your attitude, and you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, which I commanded you, I will certainly tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates. Nevertheless, for the sake of David your father, I will not do it during your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. Yet I will not tear the whole kingdom from him, but will give him one tribe for the sake of David my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen." God raised up adversaries against Solomon, such as Hadad the Edomite and Rezin son of Eliodah, who caused trouble and rebelled against Solomon's kingdom. Additionally, Jeroboam son of Nebat, one of Solomon's officials, also rebelled. A prophet named Ahijah met Jeroboam in the field and tore his new cloak into 12 pieces, giving him 10, symbolizing that God would give Jeroboam the rule over 10 tribes of Israel. Solomon tried to kill Jeroboam, but he fled to Egypt, where he remained until Solomon's death. The life of Solomon teaches us that even the wisest and most blessed by God can fall if they do not remain faithful and obedient to him. Solomon's decline serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of straying from God's ways and the importance of maintaining spiritual integrity. God's warnings to Solomon and the subsequent consequences of his sins demonstrate divine justice and the necessity of sincere and continuous devotion to the Lord. The consequences of Solomon's sins were profound and long-lasting. His unfaithfulness to God and idolatry brought not only divine wrath, but also the prophecy of an imminent division of the kingdom. Ahijah, the prophet from Shiloh, was sent by God to announce this division. In an encounter with Jeroboam, son of Nebat, Ahijah tore his new cloak into 12 pieces and gave 10 to Jeroboam, symbolizing that God would give him the rule over 10 tribes of Israel. Ahijah said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I am going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hand and give you 10 tribes. But for the sake of my servant David and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have one tribe." When Solomon learned of the prophecy and Jeroboam's rising prominence, he tried to kill him. However, Jeroboam fled to Egypt, where he found refuge with King Shishak, staying there until Solomon's death. This episode not only highlighted the deterioration of Solomon's reign, but also marked the beginning of the tensions that would culminate in the division of the kingdom after his death. The deterioration of his reign was also reflected in other areas. Solomon's reign, which had begun with promises of peace and prosperity, ended with severe economic pressures on the people. Solomon had imposed heavy taxes and forced labor to maintain his luxurious lifestyle and finance his grand construction projects. These heavy burdens created resentment among the northern tribes, who felt particularly oppressed. This discontent was one of the main factors that contributed to the division of the kingdom after his death. After 40 years of reigning, Solomon died and was buried in the city of David, leaving the throne to his son Rehoboam. However, Solomon's legacy was marked by both his achievements and his failures. Rehoboam inherited a kingdom weakened by his father's idolatry and controversial political alliances. When Rehoboam ascended to the throne, the northern tribes, led by Jeroboam, requested relief from the heavy burdens imposed by Solomon. Rehoboam, advised by his young counselors, refused and responded even more harshly, resulting in the rebellion of the 10 northern tribes and the formation of the Kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam's rule. The Kingdom of Judah, with the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, remained under Rehoboam's control, in line with God's promise to maintain one tribe for the sake of David and Jerusalem. The division of the kingdom marked the end of an era of unity and glory in Israel. Solomon's legacy is thus dual. He is remembered as the wise king who built the temple and brought greatness to Israel, but also as the king whose choices led to idolatry and the division of the kingdom. His achievements and failures serve as powerful lessons on the importance of faithfulness to God and the consequences of straying from his ways. The life of Solomon reminds us that even the wisest and most blessed by God can fall if they do not remain faithful and obedient to him. Solomon's decline serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of straying from God's ways and the importance of maintaining spiritual integrity. God's warnings to Solomon and the subsequent consequences of his sins demonstrate divine justice and the necessity of sincere and continuous devotion to the Lord. The death of Solomon and the subsequent division of the Kingdom of Israel were events that echoed for generations. The northern kingdom, Israel, and the southern kingdom, Judah, frequently came into conflict, weakening the nation overall. The political, religious, and social tensions that arose from this division eventually led to the vulnerability of both kingdoms, resulting in invasions and exiles. Israel was conquered by the Assyrians, and Judah, later by the Babylonians, events considered divine judgment for the infidelity of the kings and the people. Solomon's story serves as a powerful reminder of the blessings that come with obedience to God and the severe consequences of disobedience. Solomon began his reign with promises of greatness and divine wisdom, but his later years were marked by a departure from God, leading to the fragmentation of his legacy. His experiences highlight the importance of maintaining a firm relationship with God and following his commandments. Regardless of circumstances or temptations, Solomon's legacy is rich in teachings. It shows us that true wisdom lies not only in knowledge or wealth, but in continuous faithfulness and obedience to God. His reign illustrates how personal choices can impact not only the individual, but also future generations. Solomon's life, with all its achievements and failures, invites reflection on our own lives and how we can strive to live according to God's will, learning from past examples to build a better future. The story of Solomon offers numerous valuable lessons that remain relevant to this day. One of the main lessons is the importance of seeking God's wisdom and discernment. Solomon is often remembered for his unparalleled wisdom, a gift he asked from God early in his reign. This wisdom not only helped him govern Israel with justice and fairness, but also left a lasting legacy of teachings in the books of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. These writings continue to provide practical and spiritual guidance, demonstrating that true wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. However, Solomon's life also warns us about the dangers of turning away from God. Despite his wisdom and blessings, Solomon allowed his political alliances and marriages with foreign women to lead him into idolatry. This departure led to the construction of altars for pagan gods, provoking God's anger. Solomon's story highlights the importance of remaining faithful to God, even when achieving power and success. Solomon's unfaithfulness resulted in the division of the Kingdom of Israel, a consequence that affected generations. Another crucial lesson is the need for responsible and compassionate leadership. Solomon began his reign with a humble attitude and a sincere desire to serve his people with wisdom and justice. However, as his reign progressed, he imposed heavy taxes and forced labor, which generated discontent among the northern tribes. This economic and social pressure contributed to the kingdom's division after his death. Leaders are called to govern justly and consider the well-being of all their followers, avoiding oppression and abuse of power. Solomon's story also teaches us about the fragility of human nature. Even a man endowed with divine wisdom can fail if he does not maintain a constant relationship with God. Solomon reminds us that obedience to God is essential for a successful reign and life. His mistakes and their consequences are a clear warning that deviating from God's commandments can lead to personal and collective ruin. Solomon's life invites us to reflect on what truly matters. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon meditates on the vanity of human achievements and the pursuit of worldly pleasures, concluding that the true purpose of life is to fear God and keep His commandments. This perspective encourages us to seek deeper meaning and live according to divine principles. As we reflect on the powerful lessons from Solomon's life, I want to invite you to join us on a continuous journey of learning and spiritual growth. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content about Bible stories and how they apply to our lives today. If you feel in your heart the desire to accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, know that He is waiting with open arms to receive you. The great love of Jesus is transformative and eternal. He offers forgiveness, peace, and a new life to all who turn to Him. In the comments, write, "I accept Jesus," if you have made this wonderful decision. We want to celebrate with you and offer support on this new journey of faith. Remember, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Accepting Jesus is the most important and wise step you can take. Before we finish, I want to recommend our video about Ezekiel and the Valley of Dry Bones. This is another inspiring story that demonstrates God's great love and faithfulness to His people, showing that even in the most desperate situations, God can bring life and hope. Thank you for watching. May God bless you abundantly, and may Solomon's wisdom and the love of Jesus Christ guide your steps. See you in the next video.